Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the, I guess, all new, kind of re-releasing Kobe 3 Protro in the translucent colorway. And I know that a lot of times on the channel I say that I don't really, cut open Kobe's, but since, we're seeing so many of them come onto the market and they're, from what I'm hearing, they're going to be releasing in more and more quantities, and these are gonna be more available to just the average consumer like you and I. It's kind of time to start treating them like, any other new release shoe and start cutting the new ones open, not just the old beat up ones. Now, if you look at the spec sheet of a Kobe 3 Protro, you would probably say to yourself, like, why isn't every pro wearing these? Right, versus the 5 Protros and the 6s and, to a lesser extent, the 4s and the 8s. And I think I know the reason after kind of getting a little bit more, time into these things, and these issues are really fascinating. They do some really amazing things. I have seen these on like GOAT, StockX, eBay, and they're not selling for crazy versus some of the other, like the 6s and the 5 Protros. And like I said, I think we're getting more and more colorways as the year goes on, so I think the price is gonna be driving down. So I think it's gonna be a good option for a lot of people, to be quite honest, in terms of particular things that some particular people are going to want. So let's check them out. Number one, the tongue is fantastic. You get like 1.5 padding in the more proximal tongue, and basically neoprene that goes through the rest of it. Ton of breathing channels, and that kind of goes all the way through the tongue, and then kind of a lot of breathing throughout the rest of the uppers. Now this is textile underneath of this TPU cage here, but there's just so many points for egress of air. Look at the breathability test. Fog, it's hard to see because of the translucent TPU and the the colorway of it, but fog is getting out everywhere, right? It takes a second to start getting out of the medial and the lateral sides of the shoe, but it does get out. And so to me, even though they have the big cap on here, the breathing actually is pretty good, especially for a shoe you really would consider a high. Those swoop down here into the Achilles. Now, speaking of that Achilles, you do get a ton of padding around the last 2 lace eyelets, or I should say the first 2 lace eyelets, however you want to look at it, and that goes all the way down into the bottom of the shoe. However, I will say heel slippage was mild-ish, like maybe a little more than mild, and I think it's because the padding is just so flat, right? Like you don't really sink into anywhere into the rear foot. And so I think that's one of the reasons you don't see as many pros in these as some others. I think it's the comfort, because you are kind of rubbing a little bit back here. Like, you get a little bit of lace irritation sometimes because when these wings come over and you're moving up and down in them here, like I said, I was just, at my left side, which is my, like I said, my higher volume side, I was getting a little bit of, not bad. You could feel it when I was moving up and down, especially like when I was kind of moving down more rapidly here. And then just kind of every little step, I could see how you could really rub a blister. Like you could really rub yourself raw back here. Moleskin takes care of that. Double socking also helps with that for sure. But versus the 5s and the 6s, where that's just not really an issue, I think, there's that. So all in all, I would say, like I said, lace line, it is reinforced all the way through there. All in all, in the uppers, I'm a huge fan of the containment of these, especially how it integrates with the flange and everything else. You do get a little bit of more containment here in the rear foot too. There's a little TPU piece back here. And like I said, you do get a little bit of an overlay here in the forefoot, and then you get stitching in the back. So all in all, I think the uppers are really good containment wise. They definitely need broken in and some accoutrements, I think, to make them, more comfortable. But in terms of somebody that wants, we'll talk about it in the midsole, but in terms of that wants some of the stuff that the 5s, 6s, and the 4s, especially the 4s, can do, but in a higher collared package, like I said, I don't know why there's more people not wearing them. Are we getting into the midsole teardown? I mean, for the name Protro, it definitely is new tooling, but kind of what we're used to seeing with a lot of, Nike basketball right now, where you got Cushlon 3.0 as the main carrier, then Zoom Strobel on the top. It kind of just has it's like that indented Zoom Strobel, so it makes it just more fluid to bend, and it does bend really, really well. It is a very nice feeling shoe, especially bending it in the forefoot. We'll talk about that in the fit section. Interesting thing though, it's only 2 centimeters of stack in the rear foot, only half a centimeter drop. These things are flat to the ground. You do have a carbon fiber bottom loaded shank that is very, very nice. I looked on the tensiometer, it takes 62 newtons to get it to 45 degrees, and that's nothing to do with the carbon fiber shank in the middle here. It's all to do with how thick the rubber is and just how much casing there is. And so you can see it does bend appropriately. That's fantastic. torsional stability is just out of this world. That is the casing of the rubber too, especially here on the lateral flange here. I mean, the shank's doing some for sure, and you got inflated zoom in there. That helps too. But you know, look at on the bounce height test, what we're used to seeing with this kind of setup. Got 43 centimeters in the rear foot, 40 in the forefoot. Yeah, I mean, this shoe does feel pretty springy, you know, especially when your forefoot is just the drop. You know, like we'll talk about that in the fit section. But all in all, you know, by today's standards, it's pretty basic midsole setup. But for what it is and for what people would want, a little lower to the ground, lower stack shoe, but also in a higher collar, once again, it would fit the bill for those people. All right, getting into the outsole tread of the three Protros. Basically, you've got some, you know, picture frame, you know, diamond patterns, a little bit of herringbone. That's a full-length tread pattern that kind of goes back into the rear foot. A little bit more of like this big, you know, kind of macro X pattern back there, and just mirror images of the forefoot. There is a ton of micro texture on this, so much texturing. And because of that, you get 39 centimeters on the grip test ramp. This thing pretty darn sure-footed in terms of grip, and especially initial grip. Now, in the dusting box that I have now, that picks up, honestly, not as much dust as I thought it would. The lateral flange is what picks up the most, and then kind of this like wainscoting pattern here, you know, like diamond pattern or picture frame pattern here, that picks up some. However, a quick wipe down of it, really not that bad. Remember, that micro texture is gonna hold on to more dust, right? So anytime you get a micro textured pattern, especially one that's more flat like this lateral flange is right here, you know, it might be a decent idea to get more of like a liquid-based wipe, right? Like a grip spray or grip wipe. That's gonna help get into those areas. The thing is though, it didn't slip till 33 degrees even after the dusting. They're really not bad at all. And typically I do 10 seconds, I kind of do like some shimmies, I put all my weight on it and shimmy it. I ended up doing it twice, it was 33 degrees, right? And like I said, wipe down. So, I mean, yeah, they do pick up dust, but it's way better than I thought it was gonna be. And then even I put them on right after I dusted them when I was doing some of my B-roll here. And I mean, yeah, you can feel the forgiveness a little bit on it, but it wasn't that bad. And that's the translucent rubber. That's what's gonna pick up, in my opinion, the most out of these. So, I mean, I might be wrong. Rubbers are, you know, always, you know, different every year, but I was pretty surprised with that. I looked at this thing on the outsole durability test, 10-second tire grit sandpaper. Yeah, I mean, a millimeter damage on this. Rubber comes in at 17.5, so it's decently hard rubber. I would say on indoor courts, it's gonna be okay because rubbers, there's just so much of it. It's so thick, right? So I think on indoor courts, I think you'll be just fine. I wouldn't be taking these outside. The flange though is really what steals the show. It's that super long flange you see in the Sabrinas. You know, obviously done first here, and it really does a fantastic job keeping the shoe feel stable. It is so hard to roll these things, and so like I said, that's what really kind of steals the show for me in terms of these. But yeah, like I said, in terms of the overall rubber construction, you know, I know they say it's like lighter traction, lighter rubber. They still come in at over 17 ounces. You know, they're still pretty darn heavy shoes, especially for the stack. They're really heavy, but with that, they're very bottom stable too. So yeah, I mean, better than I thought they were gonna be, but yeah, they'll still pick up a little bit of dust. All right, let's talk about the fit of the Kobe 3s. Number one, they only have a 9-degree inflare from rear foot to forefoot, so it's decently mellow, 28.7 centimeters in length, and then 10.1 centimeters of metatarsal width, 10.1 of toe box width. You do not lose anything from the midfoot into the forefoot, then a 39-degree taper, so pretty typical there, but you only get 4.5 centimeters of toe box height, so it's a little bit lower down there. You know, the thing is with the movement you can get in these, you know, a narrow foot in this tooling, they're gonna be a little short on you, but if you go down a half size, you'll get better lockdown. I think you still just go true to size because you can just, you know, wear 2 socks if you're gonna want to anyway, so I think that's fine. 2E, medium 2E, just go true to size. A 4E, I think if you start going up too much in these things, yeah, I mean, you're gonna start to get a lot more slippage and irritation in the back of the shoe. So I would say 4E, if you're gonna do anything, go up a half size, but if you wanna try to break them in, your rear foot will reward you with less blistering and things like that. In terms of the snake bitten foot though, this is, I think, where things get a little bit more interesting. I think a flat and neutral, they're okay. Because the zoom in there, is going to give you a little more shock absorption. For a high arch foot, I think they're okay, but because of the low volume in the forefoot, it just might start to get annoying, right? You might start rubbing in the wrong places. So I'd say if you really want the Kobe 3, you can make it work. Otherwise, there just might be better out there. In terms of ankle sprainers, big old check. Plantar fasciitis, I think with an orthotic, I think they're okay. Achilles tendonitis, no. Number 1, rubbing. Number 2, the drop, right? Potential for a negative heel. Torsional, they're fine. It's just, you know, lower drop shoes are always gonna put more tension on the Achilles tendon. That's just, that just is what it is. And yes, I know Kobe had an Achilles rupture, and I'm not saying that lower drop shoes were the reason for it, but they can't help. You know, even if you are stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching, lower drop shoes are just always gonna put you at more tension, especially with the negative step and things like that. There's just no back brace there, you know, for your heel. So I wouldn't put them with Achilles tendonitis or weak Achilles, put it that way. Forefoot pain, I think they're okay. Zoom, good. Torsional, good. Low height. They're wide enough. Yeah, I would say a small check. I think they're okay, especially, you know, yeah, I think they're okay. Arch pain with an orthotic. Big toe arthritis with an orthotic. Knee, hip, and back pain. Yeah, you know, they're going to take some tension off the knees for sure. The shock absorption, I think, is okay in them. You know, the problem with these is going to be the higher volume orthotics in the forefoot. You're just not going to have a lot of room. Plus, you know, just all this going on here. So you're going to want a lower profile orthotic in these, and something with maybe a little bit of beef there in the heel. For sure, maybe with a deeper heel cup that can kind of hold you in, and something with a nice broad arch. I think that's going to do the best for you. Yeah, I would say in terms also, these shoes are some of the most nice feeling flexing shoes in the forefoot I have ever put on. Forget newer models, forget all the crazy fancy new technology. Just in terms of pure ease of bending the shoe in the forefoot, it's out of this world. They feel so good. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, it's because they're wide, right? And I have a wide foot, but you know, the indented zoom and everything like that, this motion here is so great. And that's why I think to myself, man, someone that wants a lower drop shoe, a lot of flexibility in the forefoot, but you still want kind of the accoutrements of a higher top shoe, the good containment, the lateral flange, this is it. This is it. It's just that, yeah, that low drop, that discomfort there in the rear foot, you know, the rubbing, I think that's probably what keeps these from being more widely used versus the 4s, 5s, and 6s, because they have the same pedigree, you know, but versus those shoes, I think that's probably what keeps them from being a more popular model. Glad we're seeing them for sure. And like I said, it's easy to augment with an orthotic, you know, just a little bit of higher, you know, height in the orthotic and the heel, I mean, it'll be fine. So I think for the people that want them, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's fine. They're definitely not for everybody. And I think you can get a lot of the same things in the 4s, 5s, and 6s, just lower collar, easier to move around, you know, you don't have to worry about the rubbing. So that's kind of where I'd say, remember, high tops aren't going to stop an ankle sprain. High tops aren't going to stop an Achilles rupture. High tops don't even really stop any motion. It's just perceived. We've seen the studies on it. There have been studies on that. Did a whole video on it. If you want to check that out, check out that video right here about all those myths and lies about high tops and low tops. There's a ton of them. A lot of people still believe that are just based in nothing but vibes from podcasters. So make sure you check out both these videos right here. Subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.